Star Trek Voyager, now with more evil clown. I love it. I love this episode. We're watching Voyager. The episode's called The Thaw. Commander Flobo Boyce is waiting in the wings to join me. Let's kick off this party. Yes, my friend. Thank you for joining us here on the programming. Oh my goodness, I am so exhausted. Oh my heavens. So, as you know, if you've been following the show at all, you know that both Flobo Boyce and I, well, you know, Flobo should be here for this story. What am I doing? Huh? Hey, Flobo Boyce.
So I just ordered a pizza and catering. I didn't think I was ready to go. Oh, what's up? What's up, Captain?
You're about to get your massage.
Yeah, we got a masseuse back here. This is great.
There is a thing that you and I both do and love to do, and that is we love professional wrestling.
Right.
We don't do it together. I'm reading.
I was like, no, I didn't know what was going on. Like, was it like collecting stamps? Is it breakdancing? Like, what? Wrestling? Yes, definitely yes.
And you work as a wrestling commentator.
Sometimes.
And same here. Sometimes I work as a wrestling commentator. And really, it is like one of my favorite things to do. And we were having a little bit of conversation about this before. When you are calling a show, like a 3-hour show is what we had yesterday for Pro Wrestling Uncensored. And the show, again, it came in okay. I mean, it wasn't overly long, 6 matches, big matches, lots of story, which was fantastic. Good wrestlers, a delight to meet the wrestlers I hadn't met yet and to see so many that I knew from my days as a wrestler. Ooh. But I am still exhausted.
Oh, yeah. You know, people don't look. A lot of people my age, I'm in my mid-30s, y'all. I'll admit it. Black don't crack though. So this face has been my face since I was 19. They tend to like poo-poo on what Michael Cole does, and Michael Cole was in the era where pay-per-views were 6 hours long. It is a lot to keep energy where there is no energy. A lot of times there's lulls in wrestling matches, that's what drains you. And you did 3 hours of that. Props to you, sir.
Yeah. It was. I mean, I'm an older guy now, and you know, I'm in crap shape. You know, frankly, I got to go into training just so I could talk wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the next show. They announced it's November 19th. It's one of those shows where it's like, yeah, we can get enough money together to do this every 3 months.
Yeah, that's most independent wrestling. Why can't you do the show?
I don't know. I'm going out for a play.
Oh, okay.
So it might interfere then. I can't remember what the schedule of the play is. And that's if I get the play. So, it's a little up in the air, but, weirdly enough, all the equipment that I got, and I've got so much video equipment, you know, ever since doing your show, Commander's Log, and doing this show, I've been like, I want to be more of a producer. I want to learn how to do this. I got all this equipment. Nothing worked.
Oh no.
The one thing that worked was my phone. I just put my phone on a tripod and we just talked into the microphone holes on either side, either end of the phone.
Yeah.
It looks okay. I won't lie. It actually looks half good.
Hey, the D option in 2022 is still way more advanced than the A option 10 years ago.
That's so true.
Because I looked at some of these Mach 1 wrestling videos where I was on, where I started,
Yeah,
and they had an HD camera.
yes.
Oh, Lord. HD was a relative term back then, kids. That's
What was so funny was they had a roving camera and they didn't have an anchored shot. They didn't have like a wide shot. Because usually they do that hard cam.
Yeah.
They usually do the hard cam just so you can see what's going on. That big wide shot. You want to see the ring, you want to see the area immediately around the ring, but it doesn't really change. It's a wide shot. And they didn't have one. So they had a roving camera going around, and it was one of those flip out HD, got to be like 10 years old.
They're never gonna die. It's like when I was a kid, everyone had like the JVC, like the thing with the little like horseshoe, like periscope. Like this is it. The flip out.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, it is kind of amazing. I got a new phone and it looks good. It sounds amazing, dude. I was so mad because I had lavalier mics set up, but the new phones, of course, don't have the headphone jack anymore.
Right. Courage. Everything's all Bluetooth now.
and because it's hard to split a Bluetooth so that, you get a lav and I get a lav and the third person sits down gets a lav. Like, that's really hard to do with Bluetooth.
Oh, yeah.
For me, anyway.
I just, it pisses me off as a DJ because I understand Bluetooth is here to stay, but if I can see something plug into a machine, I can trust it and I can troubleshoot it a lot easier. When you're like, oh man, just believe in the airwaves. You're like, oh, it's someone's valves, man. Help me out.
That's a good point.
You can't be like, you is the worst.
Yes, the in-ring mic, it never worked. It never worked right. Like every eighth word, I told you, you're a loser. It was awful.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to everybody because I know how hard it is when you don't have a professional team running your equipment, taking care of the equipment. Oh man, it's the Wild West out there. Anyway, lots of fun. 8 minutes into the show, haven't touched Star Trek Voyager yet.
You know what we're gonna do? Cancel us? Is Weber Internet thingy going to take me out and say they're going in a different direction? I think not. Oh, wait, we are? Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no, we are. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Never have a comedian as your partner. Never. He makes everything into comedy. And okay, now let me explain the last 3 jokes that flow. We are going on hiatus. Weber Internet thingy is doing all kinds of stuff. I have, of course, rediscovered my love for wrestling. I'd love to do a show the way Flobo does. Flobo, your show Draped in Gold is you and Jack Farmer,
which is also possibly heading to a hiatus. But yes, it's Jack Farmer because we cover NXT UK and NXT. And NXT UK, I'm not sure if you heard, is basically being repackaged as NXT Europe next year. So there may not be NXT UK shows to recap. But yeah, Jack Farmer and I every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, we jump on and talk about 3 hours of wrestling condensed in 45 minutes.
Now, do you guys get an audience that is from the UK or from all over the world, or
so live it's I would say 50% American, about 30% UK and Ireland, and the other 30 is like people from like all over else, like I'm in Germany or I'm in Australia or whatever. But but the audio downloads, the bulk of those tends to be UK.
That's interesting. I'm very jealous that you guys figured out how to get into another market and how to, appeal to an underserved audience. These are great things. So I'm hoping to work on a couple of projects that will take quite a bit of my time. And also, I just had to look at the fact that I did one season of Starbase 80, then took a hiatus while I was doing a play and a couple of other things. And we came back after about 3-4 months, and we were going strong for season 2, having a great time. I feel like the show really developed around the two of us, and it really became an interesting, core to the show, which is something I didn't realize we were missing until I saw it, and I went, "Ooh, oh, what are we doing there?
Mm-hmm.
What did we accidentally discover here?" And one of the things that I love about the show is what we discovered this season, which is it's not just, in season 1, it was like, let's watch Star Trek. In season 2, it was more like, oh, I get it. Flobo
sucks.
Flobo is a new fan. He likes the newer Star Treks, which are excellent shows, and I love them.
Yes.
And Flobo looks at Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, the original series. When you look at these series, you look at them with an objectivity that I don't have.
And Worf sucks.
And Worf sucks.
And yes, he said it.
That's
what. Save it.
I should have done air quotes.
Too late.
No, that's your criticism. That's not mine. I love Worf. I'm one of those people that if they did a Worf series, I would be first in line.
Oh my gosh! See, you're the reason why there was a Picard series. You should be ashamed of yourself.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because when somebody said, "Should they do a series about Picard?" I went, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And then I saw Patrick Stewart announce it, and he announced it in such a like, I wasn't going to do it, but then they convinced me that it wouldn't be what I thought it was going to be, and that things are very different and very negative. And that's when I said yes. And I'm sitting there going, you're anti-selling this show.
He saw the scripts and was like, I'm in too deep. I'll promote your thing.
Well, I mean, it's a crazy series, Picard, but we've talked about it in other places. So, I won't go way into detail, but yes. Yes, what, John? Yes,
we found what season 2 of Starbase 80 is about. We're going hiatus, and frankly, both networks always have to evaluate the validity of their shows. Understood.
When we started this show on Starbase 80, you could watch Star Trek so many different places. It was so easy to find. Netflix had it, and Amazon Prime had it, and just everybody had it. Everybody had it. And now Paramount Plus has pulled its agreements or, ended its agreements with a lot of these streamers. So it's hard to find these shows if you don't have Paramount Plus. And frankly, do you ever wake up any morning and go, thank goodness I have Paramount Plus? Woo!
I mean, the thing is, if it's not for the Star Trek shows, which is great because it makes it a write-off my taxes, just Champions League, which happens once a year. So yeah. I would totally do it. But I've always accessed content in different ways, so it is not that big of a deal for me.
We're not going to say anything more about that.
No, I'm not saying a thing. Go Paramount Plus, download it today. Go ad free too while you're at it.
I'm so tempted. Joe Townsend is with us. Let's see. I missed the thing that soundbite, but when
you said Worf sucked, sir. that was a soundbite.
But Joe, who is equally as youthful as Flobo and me, says 2 spring chickens. I say 3, sir. Good friend Craig Lubin is with us. Was it the truckload of money that convinced a reluctant Sir Patrick Stewart? That's the thing. I wonder so much about that show because I see things in there where I go, no one wants to see you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Have a romance. Patrick Stewart. No one.
You know what? That's not even the most, and I'm totally not the whole point of this episode of the show. But that wasn't the most egregious thing about season 2. was the romance. I go, yeah, he's an old man, and you never really saw him get down with anybody. That's something I would write if I was on the show. It didn't know what it wanted to be. Was it the Borg Queen mysteries? Was it the NCIS Los Angeles? Was it a statement about the immigration in the United States? Was it about the overreach of the FBI? We don't know.
The thing is, I was very comfortable with defining, especially season 2, Picarder. Ding. I was so comfortable with just saying this is an action adventure starring a 90-year-old man.
Oh,
I mean, it just worked that way, but it was weird. It was weird in places, and I honestly say worth watching, but you were more on the. No.
I finished it because I'm a completionist at this point, but
yeah. Let's talk Voyager.
No,
The
I'm
Thaw. The Thaw is a season 2 episode. It comes in at number 23, 23rd episode of season 2 of Voyager on the UPN. Mr. Boyce, would you like to show you one of our favorite things? Oh wow, did my glitch?
You entered the pattern buffer, Captain.
Get glitched? Okay, we all right? Go on my picture here. Everything okay with the picture?
Oh, Brian, can you save him?
One of the interesting things that we like to do when it comes to Voyager or Enterprise is I'd love to find the promos, the network promos from UPN.
Oh,
and so we're gonna watch.
Let's do it.
Let's watch one. This is for this episode of Voyager. Let me find it and then hit that.
You can be controlled by fear. You can be paralyzed by fear. Fear can even kill you. Now, meet the one and only Fear.
Fear. Meet Fear.
On the next Voyager, the minds of the crew are held hostage in cyberspace by
cyberspace.
This is my world. And the only way to escape fear is to conquer fear. It's a virtually terrifying Star Trek Voyager.
Virtually.
Oh, it was terrifying, all right.
So, tell me about that. Did you actually find this episode scary?
First of all, if I saw that promo, didn't watch this episode, I'll be so mad at UPN. I'm like, wait a minute. Look, before I even get into what I thought about the Thaw, I just want to say, as somebody who is afraid of dogs, I think people are just overreacting when it comes to being afraid of clowns. They're just people in makeup. Get over yourselves. They're just doing a job. Are you afraid of baggers at the grocery store? Are you afraid of cashiers? No, leave clowns alone. But that all said, the episode before Tuvix on Voyager sucked. Who asked for this?
I was going to make that point, that this was the episode that came right before Tuvix.
What the hell, man?
It's crazy. I mean, okay, there's two things that I can take from that. One is very much this throwing every idea against the wall and seeing what works. I feel like Voyager did that quite a bit. That they would have a plan, they would get nervous with the plan, abandon the plan, try something new. And this one was, I know how much you hate holosuite hologram.
Do I?
And this was one of those. Do you count this as a holosuite?
I do not, because okay. the pretense is different, and it did malfunction in the way it does in the other ones. But right. I just, you go back to those two episodes. And it's something that, even though Star Trek never had a big budget traditionally, besides some of the movies or some of the season premieres, right. It is just painfully obvious between Tuvix and this one, the Thaw. It's just all cost-cutting measures. It's like, let's have a show with one person to make up. Bam. Let's do these whole idea of clear clowns, what's in the back of the Paramount costume lot. Bam. I'm like, come on, man. And I have to go through this basically you're selling me this thing is actually like scary. Like it was a Cirque du Soleil show. I mean, for free. God, John, why?
Okay. There's so much to unpack here.
What?
First off, on
How
so many
is it?
levels, you are correct. But here are the levels where you are incorrect.
Tell me.
I think the thing about clowns is, okay, I had a friend who had a fear of clowns. And was she an anxiety-ridden, miserable person? Who's to say? But there was she was a fellow actor, and we were working on a live stage show with a robot called Siki. Now, he was a little robot, and he had he didn't move his legs. He had like a little, wheeled base that he was on, and he would roll around, and he'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? Hi, Flobo. Hey, looking really nice today."
So Seek is from Jersey?
And, yes. See, and we were in New Jersey when we were doing it. But Siki was he was a robot, and there was a guy at the back of the room who would have his hand in his pocket because that was the control for the robot.
Oh.
And he also had something like on his wrist or something. And this robot would be walking around. That was the whole draw. Well, this robot's just wandering around. But there's a guy in the corner running him, providing his voice. Hey, how you doing? Oh, that's a really nice flowered shirt you're wearing. And because he is live and the guy controlling him can see everything, it's like the robot's alive. My friend was freaking out. Just absolutely freaking out. And I said, "What is wrong with you?" And believe me, the answer to that question would take weeks. But she said, "I hate clowns, magicians, ventriloquists. People who like cosplay." And I found out later that she's on the spectrum. And these things are disassociative to her. So when you see a clown face, it's, to some people, this sort of parody of human faces. And they're so dependent on looking at faces to get cues of, is this a good moment or a bad moment? Is this, should I be afraid? Should I be angry? Should I be happy? Should I relax? Like, they look so hard to translate people's expressions, and that clowns freak them out because they wipe out a lot of the little facial cues that these people need. Now, granted, is that often that happens? Is that common? I don't think so. But life and human beings are on such a spectrum. I think there are some people who are like, if I can't see the wrinkles around your eyes or, the mole next to your mouth, if I can't see the things that I'm used to in a human face and it's wrong, that freaks me out. So I wonder if that's it.
I feel like I have to start a clown advocacy group. Leave clowns alone. Leave clowns alone. Leave clowns alone. Look, I'm just saying, people can do the same thing to me. I always say dogs freak me out, but everyone goes, "Not my precious. It's different. Have you tried holding mine?" It's always the same thing. But now, makeup, I have to be like, "Okay, you're fine." No, leave clowns alone. I'm tripling down. Cancel me.
I am so sorry that I just let my dog jump on you. I am so sorry.
I am used to it now, but when I was a kid, it was a big deal, and it was the one fear no one really respects. It's kind of like, no, really, the man's best friend.
It's the
animals.
You don't like Flamin' Hot Cheetos? No, come on, have some. Like, you can't say you don't like them. Everyone likes them.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I
was crying like Harry Kim in this episode. No way.
And let's face it, this was on oh my God, look at Joe Townsend says Flobo is rooting for Pennywise.
He's misunderstood. Throw some
He's
friends in
an
the
enter-
sewer. I've been there. Hey, I have this huge apartment. Come on over. No one showed up. Okay.
Pennywise was an entertainer first and foremost. I think mostly the victimizing children thing really throws people off from the fact that separate the man from the art, people.
He who has not held a balloon should not throw stones. I don't know.
He lives in a sewer. Okay, it's not like he can go any lower. When we're talking about the Thaw, let's try to do a pickup. Here we go. When we're talking about the Thaw, this is a very small episode. I agree with you on that. It's funny, too, because in the world of Star Trek, they considered this a pretty grand, wonderful episode. I also love how in the promo, they keep playing up the virtual reality. Do you remember when VR was like, oh my God, this is crazy?
You're talking to the kid. I was a big VR Troopers fan on Fox Kids. Remember that show?
We are VR.
Trooper. Oh, man. If those who don't know, there was a time where the Power Rangers were huge. And so they just flooded every network with clones of the Power Rangers, of the people who Superhuman, Cyber Squad, Mass Rider, VR Troopers, Big Bad Beetleborgs.
Yep, Beetleborgs.
Yep. You know what I mean? Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. Like,
damn.
Every time they had a group of kids, they transformed. I was into that. So yes, VR Troopers was my favorite of that one.
That was a good one, actually. I like the VR world.
Talking dog, creepy as hell in that show. Go ahead. That talking dog named Jeb, and Jeb talk like this, and it's like his mouth would move. Like, why is the dog talking? That's so creepy.
What was the one where there was that Jay Leno looking dude?
Big Bad Beetleborgs, Flabber.
Oh, was that Beetleborgs? The Flabber.
Yeah, yeah, like Elvis Leno. That's what he looked like.
He was a nightmare. Now, I wanted to point out a couple of things. Like the little scene at the beginning of this episode.
Weird.
Very weird. So Harry is playing his clarinet, and Tom Paris is just like casually sitting on the phone, scrolling on his pad, which is hilarious because that's what we do now with our phones. But this was made many years ago.
We have evolved.
When was this episode made? I mean, we really do need to point out this episode was made it aired April 29th, 1996. You couldn't scroll through your phone in 1996.
Yeah.
That was not done. So it's kind of cool that shows up. In this little scene, Harry is playing his clarinet, and I've never seen this happen in Star Trek before. From the room next door, a guy's going boom, 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 boom. And then Harry explains, it's actually a weird little scene. Harry explains, whoever designed this ship didn't design it for people because the conduits in the wall actually make noises louder. And that's why they're so like they annoy each other. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy next door. It's
Ensign Baytart. That's the first thing I had on my notes. I go, he's a jerk. Like, what? Obviously, the guy has clarinet. He's played before, but yeah, you're banging on the wall. Like, what if he was gonna have some kind of like, sexy jam to serenade a nice little hot toddy from down in sick bay, and now you're gonna like do, just killing the fun, Baytart. It's because you're not getting laid,
right? And we find out the reason. I mean, basically, Tom's making fun of him. He's like, "Hey, now you've got an excuse to tell your mother why you didn't practice because your neighbors wouldn't let you." And it turns out there's a very important performance that Harry's getting ready for with Nicoletti. And Tom's like, "Hey, wait a minute! I've been trying to get with her for 6 months. You're getting in with her instantly? She's." Good old cold hands, cold heart, Nicoletti. And Harry says, not when she's playing the oboe. Sexy.
More like womp 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 womp. Talk about first impressions, man. I said this a couple times in the show. The fact that we first met Harry Kim being racist to a Ferengi, I've had it out for him ever since. He doesn't suck necessarily, but it's kind of like, yeah. Okay, good luck. I guess you have to procreate too.
Joe Townsend actually brings up the point I was leading to, which was, did you know? Okay, I'll just read Joe's statement here. This teaser, it is a Townsend tidbit. This teaser was originally filmed for the episode Death Wish. It was cut from that episode, but then used in this episode because it has so little to do with any story.
What story?
It's so true. It's so generic. They were like, yeah, we just slapped that in there. Because then it just ends with Chakotay saying, hey, guys, come up to the bridge.
Yeah.
So this is one of these things I wonder about Voyager. Why do I not love Voyager? Why does Voyager not feel like a Trek series to me? And I wonder if it's the kind of attitude that says we're going to do a scene that's so generic it can go in any episode.
I think that's it. I think from what I can understand, I don't like to say what's real Trek and what's not, even though like I don't like Prodigy as much. I understand that everyone has their own favorite ones, but I'm not sure if it's a product of the 90s of trying to make it cool. Or I don't know if it's kind of like just a lack of budget, but a lot of times the Star Trekkiness is in the background. It's like, hey, let's get Harry Kim doing a talent, all right, clarinet, and Tom Paris doing the scene too. What am I doing? Here, scroll that. It just feels very slapped together, and it's very hard to get behind these episodes. When I watch an hour, I either go, that wasn't bad, or okay, but never like, oh my gosh, this is really good, you know?
Yeah. Now, there are elements to this episode that are really terrific, but they're not necessarily elements that you see in every episode of Voyager. And I want to really get into Michael McKean. Are you a fan, Flobo? You've crossed paths with Michael McKean as a fan in different things, I'm sure.
I don't really hate the guy.
To hate the guy. Did you ever watch Better Call Saul?
No, I haven't. I didn't watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I got 1.5 episodes in Breaking Bad, and I was like, this isn't for me. I know.
What? Okay, I'm the same way. I've tried to get into Breaking Bad. I think I've watched up to like episode 6 or something, and I'm just like, oh, these characters are not pulling me in. I'm not, I can't. It's not like I can't wait to see the next episode. Blah blah blah.
Right.
My family watches Better Call Saul because I don't know. So I've sat there with them watching it, and it's great. It's freaking great. Yeah, you actually don't need Breaking Bad. I can tell you from firsthand experience. You don't need it. It explains a lot of things because we just watched Better Call Saul end. We just watched the end of the series, and they make a lot of references to Breaking Bad, which is great. But Michael McKean plays Jimmy McGill is our hero, played by Bob Odenkirk. Michael McKean plays his older brother, and he is a brilliant lawyer. He is everything that Saul Goodman, the sleazy lawyer, is not. He's a classy, well-educated, just brilliant lawyer. Michael McKean is also known as playing Lenny of Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
Also, he's David St. Hubbins from Spinal Tap.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He has been in many Christopher Guest movies. He was in A Mighty Wind, where he co-wrote folk songs and performed and played them. He's won a Grammy. He's also a theater actor, Michael McKean.
Dang.
He has gone over to London to work in the West End in their theater. And for a lot of theater actors, that's like, you're great if you can get on Broadway, which Michael McKean has, but you're extra great if England wants you.
Right.
because they have a smaller scene. It's much more exclusive. Michael McKean is a funny man. I have really, he was a writer on Laverne and Shirley
Okay.
before. Yeah. So the guys who played Lenny and Squiggy were actually from the writing staff, and everybody thought they were so funny. They were like, you should play these characters that you created.
That's how Roy Kent became a thing.
Yes, but I love this. I love that. That's how Carlton Your Doorman became a thing.
Yeah,
because Lorenzo Music was a writer, and when he would do the character in the readings, everybody was like, "No one's going to be funnier than you. You've got to do the part." He's a great voiceover artist too, Lorenzo. Wonderful man. Yes, I knew him personally. I dropped this name. Would you like me to pick it up?
Someday I'll do that. You ever heard of John Weber? I worked with him on Starbase 80, the worst starbase in the galaxy.
The magic of this role of the clown, or as they're referring to him in the series and even in the promo as Fear, they refer to him as Fear. Did you feel that he nailed it? Did you like his performance?
I like the idea, the concept of the embodiment of fear, or at least being such a stimulant that would cause these creatures to pass away in stasis, or it's not stasis if you're dead, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But like they are given so little to work with. You know what I mean? It does feel very Batman 66 villain.
Yes.
Welcome to the circle. It's like, well, I guess that's evil. Like if I had those same text or that direction, there's not much I could do with it either.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but it had flashed through my mind because at one point someone pointed out, okay, so Jerry Taylor, executive producer, and really a genius. I love Jerry Taylor, but she did a lot of Voyager, so I can't say I appreciate a lot of her work because I don't love Voyager. But an unusual casting choice was made for the extras from the film, and you nailed it, actually, Flobo. To lend a certain mood to several scenes, we hired a lot of people from the Cirque du Soleil as background.
Nice.
You nailed it.
There. That's what it is. I was like, live.
We were trying to provide a strange carnival-like atmosphere. Have you ever seen Cirque du Soleil?
I try to collect them all. I have not seen the new one at New York called Mad Apple, but I've seen the Beatles, which is my favorite. Michael Jackson, Mystere 3 times, Ka. Like,
wow,
it's kind of a thing. Yeah. I've seen O.
Oh my gosh. I saw, like, when they started their residency in Las Vegas, I was working on a job out there, and I saw them once. I saw that
Mystere. That's probably the first one. The one Treasure Island.
Yeah, Mystere. That sounds right.
That's like top 2, top 3 for me.
Yeah. Very, very interesting, very fascinating. When you get them close in cameras, it's freaky. And so I was getting that, freaky atmosphere, that freaky carnival they were going for in this virtual world. I should jump back just in case you haven't seen this episode very quickly.
Too late.
They get to a planet. The planet has gone through many environmental disasters, and they actually find life forms underground. The people on the planet, it was a settlement, 6 of them managed to put themselves in stasis, and they knew it was going to be for a long time, so they created a virtual world that their minds would live in during all this time, so they could live, lucidly, and their brains could be working. They wouldn't be in comas or whatever their reasoning was. Somewhere along the line, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the weirdest villain origin I have ever heard. Their brains, by creating fear, the fear enters into the main computer, and then the main computer creates a being out of their fear. And that becomes the clown. You with me on not being with this, Flobo? This is so weird to me.
This looks like, man, let's do Armis, but not have Armis. I was like, wait a minute. I've been down this road before. Less clowns.
Holy cow. Are you wrong? I can't. Hang on. My brain is trying to poke holes in your theory, and I'm finding no holes. I mean, yeah, he's this weird, isolated, powerful character. And if you buy into the fact that he exists, which I'm a little hesitant to do this whole episode, sadly, then you have to buy into the fact that he pretty much runs everything, because fear is so common. Fear is so basic, and it's such a background radiation of our lives that fear can control. And I don't know, even describing it, I don't like it.
Wow. I've never seen you bail mid-sentence like that before. And then, what's the use? Good night, everybody.
I bailed mid-sentence. Oh my God. Okay, Joe Townsend says, imagine the weirdness if Captain John and Flobo had been hooked up to this doohickey.
I would last 15 seconds, man.
Oh, come on, really? Oh, well.
I'm like, wait, rent has been paid. No.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you'd hooked me up into that, everybody would have my recurring nightmare, which is you find out there's a final for a class that you supposedly were taking, but you never went to that class. You show up the day before the final. Everyone tells you how stupid you are, and you don't have any pants.
Well, I mean, at least they didn't say how small you were. That's a plus. Whatever, you're stupid.
That's implied. That's implied.
No.
I love this line. We're talking about how Michael McKean's playing Fear, and Joe Townsend says we needed a sequel, David Squiggy Lander, in which he could play Loathing.
Oh man, the hair gel.
He could do it too. The late David Lander. It was so sad when he passed away. I actually wished Michael McKean on Twitter. I offered my condolences, and he responded quite beautifully and said, look, you were a fan of David's. You loved him too. So my condolences to you. This isn't about me. This is about everybody who loved David.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
This is what a sweet, wonderful man Michael McKean is. I have never heard a bad thing about Mr. McKean. Let's see. So we went through our planet problem, the carnival. Let's talk about the director. The director of this episode is Marvin V. Rush. Marvin Rush had mostly worked on Star Trek. Now, Flobo, I wanted to get your reaction to this. Marvin Rush, the director of this episode, had been primarily the director of photography on episodes of Star Trek. And so as the DP, what is the difference? If you could explain to me and to everyone listening what the difference between a director and a director of photography is.
Sure, it's a little different between mediums and TV and movies, but the director usually primarily works with the actors to get the best performance out of the text, to make sure everyone believes their motivations, and in turn, the audience believes the motivations of the actors. The director of photography is like the main manager when it comes to the look. They usually work in tandem with the camera unit and the production design to give you the full aesthetic, whether the color palettes, the shot selections, the time they rack focus, they get to paint with light. That's why the director of photography.
Now, did you get a feeling at the time, or now that we're discussing the fact that Marvin Rush is mostly a director of photography, did you get the feeling that it was more technical, it was more from that painting on the canvas, attack?
For better or worse, right? Like, so this one clearly has its own unique feel, its own different color palette. There is a lot more things to show about disorientation, but it's so out of step of everything else we've seen on Voyager. It does seem a bit put on. And so therefore I didn't really quite enjoy it. And let's be real, when it comes to Voyager and Enterprise, everything seems to happen around gray walls. It's almost like, yeah, the budget ends right about there. We're having this summit at the local Holiday Express.
Yeah, it's funny because when you read the sort of production notes about this episode, one of the things they keep saying over and over again is that the set design and set dressing was so clever because they managed to make such a small space look like a large space in such a surreal space. And I'm sitting there going, no, you didn't manage that at all.
And it's kind of thing that always hamstrings me going back to watch these shows. It's like, well, okay, yeah, you're formally trained, Flobo. You have an MFA. Remember, you be that guy. And things tend to advance. If I was flipping through, and I gotta imagine I'm watching this on a 4x3 idiot box, right?
Yeah.
It does look different. It does look like that late 90s mod revival, Austin Powers thing.
Yeah.
But still, it's very apparent, even compared to even the TOS, that there is just not a priority in the backgrounds in detail on Voyager compared to other series. There's not a lot of things happening in the background. It almost feels like it's a cardboard city, a fake backdrop, and it's like, hello, we are Star Trekking today,
And do you think that's a UPN budget thing, or because you got to remember, as you say, we were going from standard D to HD in the late 90s, so not every show flipped at the same time.
What do you know what it is? If I have to make a theory, I think, for what I gather, because I didn't really have to watch it in depth, that DS9 was so detailed and so layered and so involved with the Dominion War that I think everyone said, look, Ultimate Universe, fresh start everything, let these new crop of Star Trek fans, in theory, get into this. But it's almost so streamlined, because the idea is like, okay, you don't really have to understand being on a star base with two warring clans. You can relate to being on a road trip trying to get home. It's basically supposed to be the Warriors, which, by the way, if you want to show me a scary clown, have it in Coney Island. Bada boom! But what we have is almost so simplified to the point that, like, as a sci-fi fan, I go, there's nothing really to grab onto. It's like every one of these stories happens inside of the world, which I guess is kind of the point, because they're in this claustrophobic hoopty trying to get back home. But at the same time, I want more of the universe they're traversing on their way home.
Yeah, I agree. There was something, I've said this before, but there was always something from hunger about Voyager. We don't have enough energy. We don't have enough, we can't run the holodecks and the food processors the way we want to, because we don't have enough energy. We get our asses kicked by every single person we meet. It was just so low status. The Voyager, the crew, the adventures that they had, it was very low status, and that just really bothered me, because what was great about, like, say, the Next Generation was, I want to know more about Data. Well, we've got the entire universe to explore, and we've got all these resources to find out more about Data, and we find out this tremendous backstory that he has, and that's great, but you're not going to get that in Voyager, because they're strangers in a strange land.
Yeah.
And the closest they have to a guide is Neelix.
I do feel like there is a chance right away to write that out with story, right? Clerks, the original Clerks, was very low leverage, but they found a way to have engaging characters, whether you like it or not. That's where I think where the studio has the mandates. There is like this: we want a Star Trek brand, we want the things we know, we want a ship, we want a captain, we want weird creatures, we want adventures, but we want to make it simple for the new fans and make sure it's not too complicated. But we want to have these grand fights, but we want to deal with boredom at the same time. And it really does, as we go through these episodes, feels like, what Voyager am I going to get this week? No, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a point. That is an excellent point, because the show changes a lot by the time we get to the end of 7 seasons. Where we had Tuvok and we had Chakotay being these guides for the Captain Janeway. Now it's this relationship between Janeway and 7 of 9, the really unreasonably hot Borg. And the show was just trying to find that note that everyone would go, yep, that's the song I want to hear. Yep,
Yeah.
you're doing it, but you know this things
Hot
constantly
forward.
changing is
I found
not
my
as
dream
private.
girl, bro, but she's trying to assimilate me. What did I do? Just-
Now, let's just, as we're winding down with this episode, let's just talk about some of the things that really kind of worked, I thought. Marvin Rush had recently watched, at this point, the Federico Fellini film 8.5. Did you ever watch that in film school?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, no. You
Uh,
did not like Fellini? Oh, no.
Okay, so here's the problem I have with a lot of these classic films, and I'm not taking
Yeah.
away from the films themselves because the films don't try to be hated, right? They're very high class and high crafted films. The problem I had with my first year in film school is that I was surrounded by people who tried to out nerd each other or out craft beer each other. So I had watched that movie with so much resentment because I was like, oh, this is way better than Citizen Kane. This is. I mean, it's no night and today, you know. But so I've watched it. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah. Did you get a Fellini feel from this episode, or did you get a Fellini on a budget feel from this episode?
I mean, now that you mention it, it does feel like there's some reference there. But the thing about filmmakers like Fellini, is, or even Kubrick now, the more modern example, is that there are so many directors that like are reference, or Michael Jackson music. There's so many R&B artists that referenced by this guy who like Michael Jackson. It's really hard to really say, oh, that's Fellini, as it being like, oh no, Fellini changed the game in the language. This is what we're doing.
Right. And at some point, I think it was Jerry Ryan who said, this was actually an episode that reminded me a lot of the original series. Because shows in the late 60s, I don't know if it was because they were influenced by European new wave cinema. It seems crazy to suggest that, but there were frequently these moments on the Big Valley or Wild Wild West. Trying to think of some more modern examples, but it's like someone wakes up, he finds himself all alone in a big empty Western town. There's a woman laughing and a calliope and a guy, you know, doing magic tricks. And, you know, it's this big mind F. That's what this was. It was so freaky to see this in 1996, and I did see it when it originally aired. It was so weird to see this with this, like, it's a carnival of evil intent. Like, that's one of the biggest cliches in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think your explanation is the best one, which is, look, it's UPN. They're figuring we've got new people who watch our UPN shows.
Oh, yeah.
And wait, was Buffy a UPN show or WB show?
She was WB. She was WB.
Oh, she was WB.
Roswell was UPN.
Roswell. I mean, several other shows, which Nowhere Man.
7 days, The Sentinel. The Watcher.
That's right, The Watcher. Oh, Sir Mix-a-Lot. We miss you in the horror anthology world. Yeah, so I think it's funny that UPN's thinking that way, but I'm sure you're right. I'm sure they were thinking like, we bring a whole new, I mean, that's where most of the black shows were at that time. Am I wrong?
Yeah. As Chris Rock said on Matt TV, UPN, underpaid Negroes.
Oh!
That's what it was, man. Because I was a huge Malcolm and Eddie fan. That to me was on par with some of the best 90s comedies out there. But there was other ones like, let's get black people in church. Let's get black people in the law firm. Let's get black people in the house. It was a crazy
in the house.
Man.
I forgot in the house.
In the
house. My God. Kim Wayans, LL Cool J. Oh my God. Yeah.
Ribeiro. Yeah.
There's another thing that shows up in this, and it's kind of fascinating to me. There is a trope of when things are weird and surreal, there's at least one little person.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it is a character called the Little Woman, played by Patty Maloney. Patty Maloney was born in 1936.
Wow.
I had incorrectly remembered that Patty Maloney had been old enough to be in Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
That is not correct. She was 3 years old when Wizard of Oz was released. So, no, she was not in it.
how dare you say that?
However, Patty Maloney, one of the few actors who worked in both the Star Trek and Star Wars universes, having appeared in the Star Wars holiday special as Chewbacca's son, Lumpy.
Are you praising this woman or making fun of her? I can't.
Let me go on.
Okay.
Let me go on. She also appeared, she's credited for 3 episodes of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. Joe Townsend, I know you love that show.
Wow.
She played Tweaky.
Wow.
She wasn't the main Tweaky. She was a
Sorry, I'm old enough to remember Duck Dodgers, but not Buck Rogers.
Duck Dodgers in the 25th and a half century.
Yeah.
She also, now you don't remember Far Out Space Nuts.
Probably
Right.
not. Most likely not.
Far Out Space Nuts had, oh God, am I going to be remember their names? Ruth Buzzy and Jim Neighbors, who Ruth Buzzy had been in Laugh-In. Jim Neighbors, of course, had been Gomer Pyle.
Well,
It's the story of 2 kids who discover 2 robots who have landed their flying saucer, and they picked up at one point a lonely little alien named Honk, who basically jumped around like a little cheerleader and did everything very physically. And that was played by Patty Maloney. And Honk was one of my favorite characters.
You sound like me trying to describe his UPN shows a minute ago. This actually happened?
And I'm actually looking at my notes and I go, wait a minute, I completely got that wrong. Lost Saucer, which was Jim Neighbors and Ruth Buzzy, had a horse who was a dog, and he was called Dorse. Far Out Space Nuts had Chuck McCann and Gillian had Bob Denver. And their sidekick was Honk in Far Out Space Nuts. Far Out Space Nuts and Lost Saucer, very much companion shows.
This is definitely the backdoor pilot to List of the Lost, isn't it? Because I've never heard these shows at all.
Good Lord, really?
No, I haven't heard these at all.
I am so old. But Honk was always one of my favorite characters. I always went, what a great little physical actor. Just putting their heart into it. And I didn't realize it was this busty 3'11" woman named Patty Maloney. And am I weird for pointing out how much she shows her boobs in the Thaw?
She is an adult. So both these shows came out in 75. So that's probably why they got them confused. Came out the same year and looked like Space Nuts lasted a little bit longer. But yeah, I'm all down for boobs, man. Why not?
I just love that. Okay, let's go. As we're winding down, I have one more thing. Two more things. I need you to admit that Robert Picardo, who plays the Doctor, is one of the greatest characters, not just in Star Trek, but in all of television.
Agreed. He was actually my notes. It's the best part of the episode. If it wasn't for him, this show would have totally been a skip it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Because most people would say the relationship between the victims of the clown, so that would be like B'Elanna Torres, Harry Kim, they went through the people who were, originally in these pods who were being tortured by the clown. Most people would say that was the story, but really the Doctor is what put it over for you.
Absolutely. So you have the idea of what fear is, and fear is like one of the more cardinal emotions we have. So we think about that like an analog thing, but then there is things you can measure, like adrenaline and sweat disposition, which is kind of like medical terms. So to have the Doctor, in this case, ends up being the hologram, being the one to mitigate that and actually input some organic responses like sass and sarcasm. That's the story, to be honest with you. I don't care about Harry Kim being a baby. You kidding me? Did you? Were you like, oh man, I want more baby time with Harry Kim? I mean, let me know. I'll tell you what I just said.
Honestly, as somebody who at different points in his life looked into adoption and was like, hey, yeah, maybe I'll adopt one of those Korean kids or one of those Chinese kids. Good looking kids. I think I could probably, raise a fine man out of one of those kids.
Get you
So,
getting
yes,
import by American. I'm just kidding. That's I apologize. That was out of the line.
That whole tangent was on the line. You brought it home. I appreciate that. This episode did not do well.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. This
And
episode.
Two Bix. You know what? That show sucks.
This episode achieved a Nielsen rating of 4.7 million homes, getting an 8% share for its night. It was the second least watched episode of Voyager's second season. Damn, dog. Sucks to be Voyager. Okay, but the final thing I wanted to point out, by getting the Doctor into this virtual world, they prove that there is that the system that houses this surreal world and the clown is on a little bit of a delay, because the amount of information that comes in from a human brain is a lot. And so they have to kind of figure out what's going on. Also, the clown being hooked into the system can read everybody's thoughts and everybody's memories. And, it's very scary. So when the Doctor shows up, he can't do that. Finally, Janeway goes in. And that's what the clown wanted the whole time. He wanted the most powerful, most impressive person. To him, the person who's running the outside world, he's running the inside world. He wants to take that person on. When Janeway confronts him, I thought that was pretty good. What did you think, Flobo?
Nah. The confrontation was good, and this is actually one of my notes. It says, I guess it's supposed to be a Mind F episode, but it ends on a whimper because of all the buildup of Fear gets. And we finally get the captain, the big boss, coming down. Janeway kind of dispatches him fairly quickly. It's kind of like, stupid, but you're like, oh, well, I will much rather have Janeway come down earlier, maybe have a reversal, however, go, how can we find a way? And then find the time of Janeway being in this space to come up with a solution. But it felt way too easy for Captain.
Yeah, I will say I felt like they worked for it. I'm not sure they worked as hard for it for the resolution of this story as they possibly could have. But I did love where she was trying to figure out, how do you get rid of fear? What is the purpose of fear? Like, oh, fear makes you, it inspires fight or flight. It forces you to examine reality at that moment. But she's like, what is the fate of fear? And when she gets it, that's when she goes in and she kicks his ass pretty quickly and pretty easily. Using the technology that they had used to get the Doctor in, they created a fake artificial mind. They created an AI mind. However, she also combined her thoughts with it. So it seemed to the clown that her thoughts had entered the virtual world. And then she was there. And he assumed, well, that's you. But it actually was a hologram. So she's super safe. And she is like terrorizing the clown. She's just kicks his ass. It's a squash match, as we say in professional wrestling.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I like how it ended. I do think they earned it. The crew did, but I would much rather have one scene less of Belinda and Harry going through it and have Janeway in there. And I would love to have that, like that time bomb of, can they find a way to get this AI brain happening? But what it is.
Yeah. Well, I hear you, and we are nearing the end of the show, but that is an excellent point, and I feel like maybe we should dwell on it just another second. Why did they go this way? Is it because this is a limited show and they're just not that clever on Voyager? Like, why is Voyager so small scale? Why is it so poor? Why is it so desperate? These are choices. Yes,
Mhm.
sometimes they're not. We have low budget, but low budget shows can be very good. The original series was a low budget show.
Yeah. Again, I'm only speculating, but I feel like there is a little bit of a marathon in these seasons. They want to pump out a lot of these episodes a season, and so it's your job to inflate the stakes as much as you can, and then get your way out so you can flip the next episode because they're going for an episodic thing again, unlike DS9. So you have an idea, you have this concept, but now you don't want to put yourself in a position where you cut a story off. Because we have the same issue with the Salamander episode, the one we went in the future and stuff. Help me out.
Yeah.
Here. Help me out. What's the name of the episode in Voyager where Homeboy becomes like a salamander?
Yeah.
Threshold. Same thing with
done.
Threshold. You have this giant problem or this giant issue that you can really sit and think about. Oh yeah, what is evolution? Are we evolved? Is it cyclical? Is it a line? Oh, we out of time. See you next week. And so I think that's kind of what it is. It was kind of like you wrote themselves into a corner. There's your escape hatch. Bye. It's something that has to be done off camera. Well, you didn't know this. We made an AI brain. You did. My weakness. I always felt like it was a comic book. That the next page is going to be an advertisement for Hostess fruit pies. They're just so quick that it was like, okay, bye. Like, show it to me. Let me see it.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I don't know that we can go through the whole scene, but this final scene of I got 4 minutes here, so maybe I can go forward a little bit. I did want to watch this final scene where the clown basically realizes he is effed. And okay, we'll take it from here. Did I get that on the screen? I did. Okay, so let's hit play on this. We got to talk over this so we don't get copyright strikes. So feel free to jump in anywhere.
All right, cool.
Without putting her in actual jeopardy.
This is, of course, Janeway.
Clown.
I'm telling you, as soon as
Oh,
you become
well,
aware of her-
now, let's talk about that. There was a choice made to go with this colorful world where all the, little beings and cohorts are colorful, and yet the clown is basically like charcoal gray and white are his colors. He lacks color.
You know as well as
Right.
I do that fear
Did that seem creepy or scary to you at all, that choice?
No, because clowns are nice people. They just happen to have a profession that seems to be seen as scary. No, I suppose out of place. I thought that was going to be a mime at first, but then he started doing the clown stuff, and I go, okay, great. But since I understand the monochrome nature, I think if his clothes were monochrome, but I kind of missed having, King Clown, what a King Clown would look like.
Yeah. I do need to wonder. Okay, now I want to bring this up from Joe Townsend. Is this hologram version of Janeway, because that's who's talking to him right now, is the hologram. Is she related to or the same as the hologram Janeway on Prodigy? I think yes. I think hologram Janeway from Prodigy looks so much like this Janeway. The hair.
That would be something that'd be a cool revelation if that was something to be done in season 2. By the way, because that would be a cool bridge to let kids know about this world.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I gotta get this off our screen. I also love the final scene. Joe brings up a great line that way. I found the notion that fear exists only to be vanquished profound. That worked for me. Did that work for you, Flobo?
Sure.
Sure. Shrug.
I mean, you're asking the guy who's a big Green Lantern fan. I mean, yeah, you gotta be able to not be fearless, but to be able to overcome it and be courageous. So I'm with it.
And that's
but I'm not as deep as Joe Townsend. So like I'm as shallow as they come. I'm just like, yeah, okay. Well,
Joe says, I read the clown's outfit was also intended to represent brainwaves.
Don't make this show smarter than it was, Joe. No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to add gravitas now. It's just I'm kidding. Good job.
Greg Lubin, God bless. He going deep with this Far Out Space Nuts reference here. Far Out Space Nuts taught me an important lesson. Don't confuse lunch with launch. the two guys who are loading the meals into this spaceship that's going to be taken by these brave, well-trained astronauts. Chuck McKean says lunch because they're packing the meals in, and Bob Denver presses the launch button, and that's why they're far out space nuts.
Because of a dad joke?
Because of a dad joke.
I hate it already.
Hey, man, you had a really hot little person dancing around as Honk. I mean, come on. Until you see Honk, do not pass any judgment on far out space nuts. I think that'll do it for this week. Any notes you got on the old notepad?
I would say Viorsa makes you wonder how they go about naming species and people on this show. Chakotay with the unplug them. Why not? He was a captain. Whatever. Just kill him.
Got a problem? I got a big hammer. I don't see a problem.
It's like, big bro. Show's over if you do that. So they go into the Cirque du Soleil room, and Kim rolls in like he's walking Hollywood Boulevard. I'm surprised he wasn't pickpocketed. This was definitely how can we use these old costumes before we offload them from the Paramount lot kind of an episode. And is it just me or does old Harry look like Bill Clinton? Is that too timely? Okay.
Oh, damn. Damn. I also if I had taken more time to produce this episode, I would have found a picture of Garrett Wang, who plays Harry Kim, show him at his age now and show him what they thought he would look like with age makeup. Because he's a good looking man. He's holding it together, keeping it tight.
Yeah, he got to.
Though I can tell you, I have so many friends who are turning 50, have turned 50 just recently, and they're like, man, 50 looks pretty good. 50 is a good looking age. I used to think of it as old. And I'm like, wait till you hit 57 or 58 or where I am right now, 59, where my hip literally hurts. My hip hurts.
When we were kids, we thought the world ended at 25. When I'm 25, I'm going to do this. And then after that, you're like, well, now what? I have hit the cosmic barrier. There's nowhere else to go. I'm 26 now.
26. This is uncharted territory. No one prepared me for this. No one on television is 26 or older.
It's true.
We had a great I thank you for making this such a great episode. That's Flobo, Joe Townsend, and I missed Joe Townsend saying bitty bitty bee, which is of course what Tweaky says.
Oh yeah.
I also missed this from Craig. Flobo's on.
Of course
point.
You missed it. He's had a good point.
Benning looked to Voyager as a correction to DS9. I see that. A standard Star Trek show taking place on a ship. The issue was that this was poor execution. Yeah, I think that's a pretty clear-minded explanation for why it seems like such a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, we are going to be watching an episode that I have never seen.
Oh.
I have been saving it for a special day.
Ooh.
And next week is a special day because the very first Sunday of September, the 4th, will be the season finale for season 2 of Starbase 80.
Damn, Starbase 80?
And I have no idea how long we're taking off. We might, as it is in my head right now, I could imagine us coming back sometime in December when things slow down for me professionally and I have more time, or perhaps after Christmas, because that's always like, I always need so much entertainment after Christmas.
Wow, family does suck, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm in my pajamas. Nobody's asking me to be anywhere. I want to watch things. I want to talk about things. I want to enjoy things. So that might be a good time for us. Or we might launch in January of 23. I still don't know. It depends on what the other Weber internet thingies are and how they're doing and what kind of time they take. But you can bet that Flobo Boyce has promised me he will guest on my other shows.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get him every week, so it's certainly a thrill to think that I can do season 3 and have you back.
I swear, if like the other guest panelist is like Michael Dorn, it's gonna be kind of awkward. Hey, listen, when I said Worf sucked, I kind of bit like the character. You're fine. Please, sir.
I would love Michael Dorn to have a face-off with you. So, Flobo, you don't think I'm a good actor?
Nah.
How many episodes of
0, sir? Please don't hurt me.
How many episodes of In the Hood were you on? I played Robert Townsend's boss.
Oh, he did. Oh, wow.
He did. Munster cheese? I feel like I'm on the Munsters. Killing those jokes. So thank you for being with us. Please be with us live right here, Starbase 80, 11 a.m. here on the West Coast, 2 p.m. on the East Coast. Flobo and I will be bringing you Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite. I'm convinced we can finish season 2 by getting Flobo to agree that there is a really great Hollow Suite episode, and I believe it's this one.
No. It's not possible.
It is possible. I am going to break you. I will break your resolve, Mr. Boyce. You're going to be broken.
I was like, this is the best holodeck episode ever, but it's a very low bar to clear. Well, I'm just saying it because it's our last episode. That's
damn. Okay, so be with us next week. That's going to be very exciting. I'm excited about it already. And Flobo, how can people find you on the internet and give you money?
Oh, yeah, patreon.com/Flobo Boys. We call it the Boisterous Crew. Become a member for 3 months and get merch. That's right. You now get merch on Patreon, patreon.com/Flobo Boys. But if you are a Cash App person, $Flobito, FLOBITO. That's my Cash App. Hit a brother up, bro.
And you can be with us next week. Yeah, please do that. Oh, see, now Joe says a true Mets fan will love this episode, Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite. And you are a Mets fan, Mr. Boyce.
I am. Let's go, Mets!
We're going to have a good time. Let's go out and see the Mets.
Yeah.
Right here. Thank you, Flobo.